The year is 2005. Jack and Locke just blew open the hatch. The first ever video gets uploaded to a website called YouTube, and Trivium have just released their second album, Ascendancy. Fast forward 2 decades later, and they're about to embark on the first leg of the Poisoned Ascendancy tour, a massive global co-headline tour with Bullet for My Valentine, celebrating the 20th anniversary of both Ascendancy and Bullet for My Valentine's The Poison by playing both albums in full. But what is it about the Floridian Outfit's sophomore album that has fans so excited for a throwback? On the 15th of March 2005, Trivium released their second full-length album, Ascendancy, through Roadrunner Records. Recorded in Florida between Audio Hammer Studios and Morrisound Recording, they worked with producer Jason Surkoff, who had also produced their first album, Ember to Inferno, 2 years earlier. Before the recording of this first album, Trivium parted ways with a few different members in somewhat of a revolving door, before finally settling on the lineup of Matt Heafy on guitar and lead vocals, Corey Bellew on lead guitar and backing vocals, Paolo Gregoletto on bass, and drummer Travis Smith, who by this point was the only original member of the band. Despite not playing on the recording for Ember, Corey was a fully fledged member of the band by the time it was released. Ember to Inferno was originally released in 2003 on a German independent label called Life Force. The label was so obscure that copies of the album were a rare find, with Matt Heafy recounting that he didn't know if there was a single physical copy in North America. This led lots of people to wrongly believe that Ascendancy was Trivium's first album. Ember was reissued in 2004, 1 year after its initial release, complete with bonus tracks. One of these tracks, The Deceived, would find its way onto Ascendancy. They produced a demo EP named Flavus, which again featured The Deceived, as well as Blinding Tears Will Break the Skies, which would end up as an Ascendancy bonus track, and Like Light to the Flies, which was re-recorded and included on Ascendancy itself. This EP got the attention of Monty Connor at Roadrunner, who offered them a major release deal and the opportunity to tour with new label mates Machine Head and Chimera. Most of the songs featured on Ascendancy were written during this tour. The band would be playing and tweaking ideas for tracks such as Pull Harder throughout the tour, and by the time they came back home to Florida, the band had almost a full album of songs that they were familiar with and had been crowd tested, ready to be fine-tuned in the studio. The album includes 12 tracks, all written by Matt Heafy, with other writing credits on some songs for Bellew and Smith. They released a UK special edition which included the bonus track Washing Away Me in the Tides. A worldwide re-release would later include this alongside Blinding Tears Will Break the Skies, a video edit of Dying in Your Arms, and a cover of Metallica's Master of Puppets. A DVD version was released in 2006, complete with 4 music videos and footage of Trivium live at the London Astoria. Initial reviews of the album heaped praise on the band's technical prowess at such a young age. The average age of the 4 band members was only 20 years old, but they were already standing out in a scene full of bands much older than them. Some reviewers believed that by 2005, metalcore was already an oversaturated sound, with bands like Killswitch Engage and Shadows Fall already setting high benchmarks for what the subgenre could achieve. But others praised Trivium for their innovation and ability to combine elements of metalcore with 80s thrash, also earning them a somewhat harsh criticism that they were just a Metallica knockoff with screaming vocals. Cosmo Lee for PopMatters.com gave it a 7 out of 10, saying, "While Trivium doesn't quite succeed at writing Metallica-sized songs, it certainly has the elements down. The machine gun riffs in Rain recall One, the guitar harmonies in A Gunshot to the Head of Trepidation are straight out of And Justice for All, and when the song breaks down to a single note thump, one half expects to hear the Die By My Hand chant of Creeping Death." Not only does singer-guitarist Matt Heafy sometimes sound like a young James Hetfield, he even holds his guitar like Hetfield does. YourLastRights.com said, "There's something to be said for arriving fashionably late to the party. The musical equivalent of this would be to jump into a developed genre well into its time in the public eye, and proceed both to put the trend hoppers to shame and to give the frontrunners a mighty scare. Trivium's Roadrunner debut does just that." The consensus among reviews at release was that this was a band destined for great things. Some tracks could be tweaked depending on the listener's personal tastes, but the agreement seemed to be that Ascendancy was to become a moment in metal history. However, as much as critics liked the album, fans loved it more. The energy of the songs made for intense listening which resonated with the metal community, and combined with easily accessible melodies and deep mature lyrics, they quickly cemented themselves as fan favourites. Whereas some saw the 2005 metalcore scene as a dying, oversaturated market, others saw it as an opportunity to expand the genre into new sounds and ideas. While Bullet for My Valentine would venture into more of an emo crossover, Trivium took elements from thrash and melodic death metal. By taking just enough inspiration from tropes of familiar genres and tying them together into a more melodic yet energetic style, Ascendancy quickly became essential listening for anyone looking for heavy music in the mid-noughties. The songwriting was mature for such a young band, with Matt Heafy's lyrics inspired by classical literature such as The Story of Oedipus and Brave New World, and even delving into real-life issues such as domestic abuse, marginalisation and suicide. Songs were written to offer perspectives on how to overcome problems, with the entire album's theme really being about how to recognise and ascend over different kinds of adversity. These lyrics resonated with young audiences and allowed their fanbase to cross over with the growing emo scene by talking openly about emotional introspective topics. Meanwhile, the aesthetics of the album were more apocalyptic and infernal. Everything from the partially mummified body with a crown of fire to the hellish blood-stained wings looked like it would fit right alongside other albums such as Avenged Sevenfold's City of Evil or Judas Priest's Sad Wings of Destiny, allowing metal fans of all ages to find something to enjoy. With deep choruses being accompanied by pounding rhythms and blistering solos, it's easy to see how all 4 singles, like Light to the Flies, Pull Harder on the Strings of Your Martyr, A Gunshot to the Head of Trepidation, and Dying in Your Arms, quickly became widespread crowd favourites, despite Dying in Your Arms never being released as a single in the US. However, Pull Harder and Dying in Your Arms became lasting staples of rock radio stations and music video channels throughout Europe, such as Kerrang TV and Scuzz, suddenly reaching a much wider audience than most of their contemporaries could dream of. In 2005, Ascendancy won Kerrang magazine's Album of the Year, beating both of System of a Down's releases Mesmerise and Hypnotise, and even upcoming touring partners Bullet for My Valentine's The Poison. At the Kerrang Awards that year, Trivium won Best International Newcomer and were nominated for Best Album, being beaten by My Chemical Romance's 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. A year later, they were nominated for 3 awards, being beaten again by My Chemical Romance for Best Band on the Planet, Muse topping them for Best Live Band, and this time Bullet finishing ahead of them, with Tears Don't Fall beating Dying in Your Arms to Best Single. However, they did win Best Live Band at the Metal Hammer Golden God Awards that year, with Travis Smith picking up the award for Best Drummer, and Matt Heafy being crowned the youngest ever recipient of the Golden God Award at just 20 years of age.
I am the Golden God of this place! I reign supreme!
Like most bands around this time, some of their songs found their way into other kinds of media. Pull Harder on the Strings of Your Martyr was used on the soundtrack to the video game Infected. Bonus track Washing Away Me in the Tides featured on the soundtrack to the movie Underworld Evolution, while Like Light to the Flies was included on the soundtrack to Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Lockdown and in the 2007 film Smokin' Aces. It was also on the soundtrack for The Sims 2, being rewritten and, this is not a joke, re-recorded in Simlish. In the 2 decades since its release, Ascendancy has sold over 500,000 physical copies worldwide and was certified gold in the UK. It has also hit nearly 300 million streams online. In 2009, Ascendancy was voted 22nd in Kerrang's 21st Century's Greatest Albums list, and in 2018 was voted number 11 in Metal Hammer's The 100 Greatest Metal Albums of the 21st Century. But even before it had time to be replayed and appreciated, it was clear from the start that this marked a significant moment in metal. Before the album was even released, they'd been booked to play a slot at Download Festival 2005, on the 3rd stage in one of the tents. However, there was already so much hype around them off the back of their first UK tour supporting Still Remains and 3 Inches of Blood that festival promoter Andy Copping bumped them up to the main stage openers on the Saturday morning. That set would go down in not only the band's history, but the festival's too, as almost 40,000 people turned up at 11 AM to watch a relatively unknown band play a 25-minute set. What happened on that Saturday morning changed the trajectory of the band forever. A year later, they were invited back to Download, this time off the back of the huge success of Ascendancy. They were billed third from top of the main stage, supporting Korn and their heroes Metallica, having leapfrogged bands like Alice in Chains and Roadrunner label mates Stone Sour. Suddenly, Trivium was a name that every metalhead knew to look out for. When speaking ahead of the upcoming Poisoned Ascendancy tour, Bullet for My Valentine's Matt Tuck said that Ascendancy was a huge inspiration for other bands, in part for their album of the same year, The Poison. He said, "It was the rawness, the DNA, that kind of young, fierce sound, but done in a contemporary way while having these traditional elements. And it's clear to see that DNA continuing to evolve through bands such as Harriet, Bury Tomorrow, and Malevolence." The album's legacy has been widely celebrated in the metal community over the last 2 decades, and now finds new generations of fans online. Frontman Matt Heafy streams regularly on Twitch, playing Trivium songs to his live viewers, many of whom weren't even born when some of the songs were written. But hearing him talk directly about the band's discography while playing those songs live from his house has carried the legacy of Ascendancy to new audiences in new spaces, solidifying it as an iconic chapter in metal history. Despite being almost 20 years old, Ascendancy continues to be culturally relevant, boasting some of the most recognisable heavy hits from the mid-noughties. There is a new generation of young fans discovering it as part of the larger resurgence of metalcore, and combined with the growing nostalgia amongst long-time fans, now is the perfect time for a celebration of this masterpiece, which is exactly what the Poisoned Ascendancy hopes to be. Hopefully they play this album start to finish in track order. Matt Heafy has mentioned in a couple of interviews that they might throw in a couple of bonus tracks from around that era, but even if not, just getting to see some of these songs live again will be amazing. What do you think of Trivium's Ascendancy? And if you're heading to one of the shows, what songs are you most looking forward to seeing live? We'll be in the pit at the Manchester show on the 30th of January, so we will see you there. We have another video just like this about Bullet for My Valentine's The Poison out right now, and if you'd like to be one of the first people to see our vlog from the Poisoned Ascendancy tour, then come and support us on Patreon for early releases, bonus videos, and lots of other great stuff. We also have a Discord where you can come and chat with us and fellow subscribers about all sorts of random stuff, and if you'd like to keep up with what we're up to, the links to all our socials will be in the description down below. This has been a different kind of video for us, so let us know what you thought and if you'd like to see any more of this kind of stuff in the future. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Toodles!